The answer to, do we want a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, can go into several different directions. It can be a yes, absolutely, or it can be a heck no. Why would I want to spend the extra money when I can just build one? Or it can be a, what's a Jeep Rubicon? Hey, what's up guys? Josh from Trail Built, and I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe out there. And if you're like me and have ever contemplated buying a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon because you've heard or read it's more capable and durable than its sibling Wrangler models, then make sure and stay tuned as we break down the history of the Jeep Rubicon, how it got started, and what sets it apart from its Wrangler sibling models. Also guys, remember to smash that subscribe button so that way you guys can hold on to the ride with us. Ready? Let's go. So what had originally started as something that almost never made it to the production line became what we know today as the most capable production Jeep of all time. See, sometimes the simplest decisions, of which we know in our hearts will be the best decision, can go through some of the toughest scrutiny and bureaucratical BS out there. This was the journey that the Rubicon model had to endure since its conception. For us off-roaders, this idea of a mass-produced off-road capable vehicle was a no-brainer, but for the Czech riders, this didn't make any sense at all. Since the introduction of the 97 TJ with its multi-link coil spring front and rear suspension, thousands of people have bought a brand new Wrangler and spent $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 or more installing wheels and tires, lockers, low-range transfer case gears, and a lift kit. So why wouldn't Jeep get in on the action and offer this package themselves? Let us count the ways for you as we tell you about the Jeep that shouldn't have made it through the system. First of all, a simple but ingenious idea like the Rubicon runs into is pure lack of understanding within a large corporate system of one that is strictly governed by national safety organizations and insurance institutes. Of the roughly 10,000 engineers that worked at Chrysler in the mid-90s, less than 100 of them could or would call themselves off-road enthusiasts, and much fewer could claim to own a modified Jeep that was actually useful off-road. So that leaves only a handful of people who could intuitively know that there was a significant number of people willing to pay thousands of dollars more for the ultimate off-road Wrangler. It's a small group of avid off-roaders willing to fight the good fight against the bean counters and marketing folks who could come up with such things like the Lara Croft Tomb Raider package. Clearly, being part of this off-road extremist group clogged a person's thinking beyond what mattered to customers and what was beneficial to the company. Anyone who was an avid off-roader was tagged as part of the off-road adrenaline junkie type of person that was biased, and their opinion was discounted. Ironically, these off-road extremists would become a coveted group within the Jeep engineering team that people would later want to be a part of. They even made their own t-shirts. Additionally, almost everyone in the Jeep marketing team considered people who go to Jeep camp as the serious off-roading community of Jeep owners. Starting to get the picture of how hard a package like this would be to get through the system? The next challenge was funding. With so few people outside of the off-road extremist group believing it was viable, and with potential sales volumes a complete guess, figuring out the business model was going to be a huge battle. Chrysler doesn't like to share information about how much programs cost, but let's say things like tooling to manufacture production quality 4-to-1 transfer case, rocker panel protection, selectable lockers, and a few other unique components like wheels and shocks adds up to a huge number that isn't even quantifiable at this point. That number divided by, let's say 30,000 sales per year looks good to the numbers guy, but now divide that number by only 1,000 sales per year and people are gonna get fired. Then add another hurdle that was one of the toughest. Larger wheels and tires are almost always directly opposed to good ride and handling. So every time someone mentioned a bigger tire on a Wrangler, a vehicle that was already least favorite of the ride and handling team, prepared for a beating. So how does this micro team of off-road extremists break down this barrier of non-believers and bureaucratical thresholds? Well, the proof is in the pudding, as my grandma would always say. So instead of using words and PowerPoint presentations to try and convince management, this small group of engineers decided to reverse engineer the situation and take a backwards approach to the Rubicon program. They decided to build one and let the experience of driving a well-equipped Jeep do all of the talking for them. The summer of '99, Dave Yegi and Mike Gabriel were two of the many engineers on the TJ team. They knew what needed to happen, so they started the process of creating believers, and Yegi tossed in an aftermarket 4-to-1 transfer case into a TJ. At that time, there was an annual trip to the Rubicon Trail for executives and senior managers. This was a half getaway, half initiation trip for new people to the Jeep brand within Chrysler. The trick was to embed this custom TJ in with the other stock Jeeps traversing the Rubicon Trail without the others knowing. Then, throughout the trip up the Rubicon, people kept commenting the trail was much easier to drive in that particular Jeep, and were starting to ask the question of why and what was different about it. The following year, on the annual Rubicon Trail executive trip, Yegi and Gabriel upped the ante by installing ARB air lockers, both front and rear, to this one special Jeep. And now they had to pry people out of this upgraded TJ. This capable TJ that was successfully navigating the Rubicon Trail was all done with stock tires and wheels, and nothing else was changed. Just a demonstration of what so many other off-roaders already knew as to what makes a capable rig capable, and implemented the same technology into a stock Jeep. Had it been a noticeably modified Jeep put into the mix, would have made it easy for the executives to dismiss. Now, Yegi and Gabriel had the attention of the decision makers using this prototype to prove how capable an already thought to be capable Jeep could truly be. This approach of building what was essentially the first prototype Rubicon before the business case was even presented was unheard of. Yegi actually paid for some of the components on his credit card and even worked on the components at his home to make it happen. But when you truly believe in something, sacrifices must be made, and they knew talking about their idea wasn't going to get them anywhere, so they had to prove it. And they knew that the only way to get the Rubicon package through the hierarchy system was by building one to prove it. Now that they had 2 years of the executive Rubicon trips under their belts and a growing fan club for the capabilities of these mildly modified Wranglers, Yegi and Gabriel sat down with another Jeep enthusiast within the engineering team and scribbled out the parts list. They knew the right thing to do, but kept coming back to what they thought would be allowed. Decisions that often result from the internal corporate battles, from constant rejection to new ideas that revolve around the need to spend money. Eventually, they came up with 3 different lists of what a Wrangler off-road package might include. The first package consisted of a sticker and different colored shocks, a worst case scenario if the other 2 options were denied. Then number 2, larger tires, limited slip differentials, a sticker, and different colored shocks. And number 3, Dana 44 axles with a high pinion front axle, selectable air lockers, 31-inch mud terrain tires, a 1-inch suspension lift, fixed rear output shaft, diamond plate rock rails, rear disc brakes, and a 4-to-1 transfer case, and a sticker and different colored shocks. The first 2 choices had been done by the Dodge team on the Ram, so the trio thought they could probably get these through the system if nothing else. But option number 3 was the one they knew had to be built, and ultimately it was the only option presented. If you are already familiar with the Jeep Rubicon and its upgrades, then you already know that they got everything on the list except the 1-inch suspension lift and the high pinion front axle. This was nothing short of a surprise and a miracle. The high pinion axle wasn't axed by management, but it just wouldn't physically fit when they built the first official prototype, so it had to be removed. These production upgrades were unprecedented and unheard of for such radical equipment to be approved for a production vehicle program. Now that the Rubicon project had the executive blessing, funding, and people to work on it, and 3 years after the first unofficial prototype was snuck into an executive ride and drive, the first Jeep Wrangler Rubicon rolled off the assembly line in Toledo, Ohio. The same plant that had produced the CJ2As, 3As, 3Bs, 5s, 6s, 7s, and 8s, and it only took 5 years to hit the first 100,000 units sold for the Rubicon models. The key to its success was that there was already an existing customer base that understood the technology that the Rubicon brought to market. There wasn't any in-depth education process for the marketing team to overcome. The customer already got it. All they needed was to be able to come to the dealership and buy it, and the rest was history. Today, the Rubicon models now sport 33-inch tall all-terrain tires, front and rear heavy-duty recovery hooks, electronically controlled lockers and disconnecting sway bars, along with the 4-to-1 transfer case and rock rails to continue the traditional path of capability for the Jeep Wrangler Rubicons. And if you're trying to decide whether you want to purchase a stock Wrangler Sport and build it into an avid off-roading machine, or just going out and spending the extra coin to pick up an already mildly built Rubicon, well, a base model Sport starts around $32,000 and a base model Rubicon starts around $42,500, a difference of about $10,500. For some, that difference is well worth it for the time savings alone that it takes one to build one. For others, the savings is great, plus get the enjoyment out of building their own rig for the most part. So if you've ever wondered the history of the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, or contemplated between building a capable non-Rubicon Jeep or saving yourself the time and energy and going out and purchasing an already capable Jeep, then hopefully this video has helped out in one way or another. And if you guys have any additional information to share with us about the Jeep Wrangler Rubicons, just let us know in the comments below. Also guys, remember to smash that subscribe button and thumbs up to like the video. As always, we appreciate all of you for watching. I'm Josh from TrailBuilt, and we'll see you guys out in the trails.